But you pick me up when I've had enough. You give me love when I've had enough. You don't give up. You pick me up. And when I'm all alone, nowhere to go, you are my home.
Okay, so 3, 2, 1. Hi guys, to everyone, it's Ada from Poison Rock, and I'm really pleased to have with just me, Ian Loveless. First of all, how's it going over there in California, right?
Yeah, it's sunny. It is sunny and on its way to hot. I am beneath a fig tree.
Oh, it's beautiful.
From the backyard.
I mean, this is like already it sounds like literally like a spiritual interview. We're gonna end up to talk about the other stuff than music. I love that.
I love her.
Of course, I've been following you on your music journey, kinda the music that you release on your social media for a while, and I have to say, it's beautiful. And the song, because people might don't know the song that you sent me, I was literally having my phone, listening to it. I was like, why I'm crying? It's beautiful, beautiful music. And of course, before maybe start talking maybe about the upcoming album that you mentioned before, I want to ask about, of course, how did you start your musical journey? Because of course, maybe it was with you like since the beginning when you were a kid or something, but what brought you like to literally say, this is the time for me to speak throughout the music?
So yeah, like you said, it's been with me my whole life. I think initially it was a gift that my mother gave me when I was little. She said that I could sing along to songs before I could actually speak. And then my grandfather put me on his lap, played piano. And then later years, I separated from my mom, and childhood trauma unlocked the spirit of writing music within me. And then my father played guitar, and my father's a stage manager for like big arena shows. Okay. And he has been since I was a child. So I literally grew up backstage, I was like 9 years old with a band called Third Eye Blind, and they brought me up on stage and let me play the drums on a road case in front of like 20,000 people. And I'm like 9 years old. So it's always kind of just like been in my blood.
Yeah.
And it stayed with me most of my life, just as a means of surviving, the demons, so to speak, the shadows that we all have. And so it's always just kind of been my survival tool. And when you say that a song that I shared with you brings you to tears, I actually get that a lot. I kind of get like somewhat made fun of by some of my friends because they'll joke about how if one of my songs is good, the proof is if it can make a man cry. So my buddy Dalton in Vegas, he'll say the proof is in the man's tears. Because the music is, we can get into that in a minute, but when some of my background, and when I lost myself completely to addiction and then was eventually incarcerated, well, when I got out, I began to feel everything sober for the first time.
Yeah.
So the music is like me processing something within me that I hadn't unpacked. And so it brings me to tears. So then when I commit it to a song, typically that's the feeling that I'm really grateful translates.
Yeah, of course, because like you're saying that you have a lot to challenge with and express it as well throughout music now. So let's say that a kind of a healing tool for yourself, music, and as well for the others.
Sorry, say that one more time.
I said that since, of course, because it sounds like you went really throughout a lot. So music for you is kind of a healing tool as well, like for other people that are listening to it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's medicine. I always say it's medicine for me and it's medicine for you. You know? I think that all of us have the ability to channel the ethereal energy that the universe wants to express itself through us with. Exactly. And I just happen to be, I believe, for the last 5.5 to 7 years, I've been in the right frequency to allow the universe to express itself through me in the ways that I have. And I think that those ways are to reach into people's inner child, because we all have a lot of pain that we haven't processed. Exactly. And a lot of darkness,
Yeah, and that's something important, because you mentioned a little bit before. You mentioned something about unlocking the childhood trauma, because sometimes, especially people that are spiritual, like maybe you and me, there is kind of a generational trauma that is going on throughout generation and generation. And we carry not only that our childhood trauma, but our ancestor and our previously, it's a generational trauma, plus the one that so we have to a lot to heal. So that's, I think, it's a journey of healing that never ends. And I like the way you put into the music, because it's open. It's not like I have to hide what I've been through. I have to hide. This is my journey. That's important for a lot of people out there. Is important because these are things that nowadays every one of us are in a kind of way sharing addiction to something. Just do a shitty thing. I'm honest myself. I've been addicted to benzodiazepine, so that shit is a hell.
Oh yeah, and I've also used that too, and that's a really tough withdrawal, because coming off of heroin won't actually, withdrawing from heroin, you feel like you want to die, but you won't actually die. But when you withdraw from benzos and alcohol, you could actually physically die from getting off of it. So that's a war in itself to survive. So congratulations on that.
Yeah, it's still going, because sometimes anxiety come out, and I have to kind of balance the meditation. That's what brought me at least close to the naturopathy field and the shamanic journey and everything that could lead to nature. But you are in your background is already the healing. Many people don't understand. And of course, I would like to ask you as well, because of course your music, like we said, of course, take different topic. But there was an amazing song that I saw on Spotify that it was about your mom.
Yeah.
So it talks to them about your mom. So I could imagine as well, if you feel comfortable about talking about it, about how she kind of had an impact, on your music.
Yeah, absolutely. And real quick, before we go into that, you touched on something that I find really important. What you basically said was, the struggle that you had with that we were talking about, it kind of sent you on your shamanic journey, right?
Yeah.
So this is a universal key that all of us in this sentient heart, in this physical body, in this reality deal with, right? And it's that we are given the emotional toolkit from our ancestors, right?
Yeah.
Or sometimes they don't give us an emotional toolkit, whatever they have to deal with stuff. And so that trauma, typically, when you're finally able to face it and understand it, it unlocks your superpowers, right? Mm-hmm. We can be more than human if we just have the courage to kind of face that stuff. And my mother was a huge testament to that. My mother didn't struggle with addiction. Neither did my father. So I'm an anomaly in that way. For me, it was environmental and it was emotional.
Yeah.
And addiction for me was not, a lot of people like to call it a disease. I think it was a symptom of bad programming, right?
Yeah.
So my mother was everything to me. And when I was like 7, 8 years old, there was custody battles. She ultimately decided to break the custody order and take me all the way across the United States, from California to Maine. So like a 3,000-mile journey. My father had no clue where I was, but my mom said to herself, this is my baby. He belongs to me. He's not happy. I'm taking him away. And long story short, she was ultimately arrested and we were separated for over a decade.
Oh.
And when she came back into my life, unfortunately, I grew up in a really rough environment. A lot of gang violence and a lot of racial violence. And me being of mixed heritage, I'm part Sicilian, as you and I talked.
Yeah.
I'm part Irish and I'm also part Native American. So I was too dark of complexion for the white folks.
Yeah.
And too light of complexion for most people of color. So here I am, this sensitive boy who my mom raised on like Whitney Houston and Michael Jackson, and I'm put into this literal racial gang infused war zone, right? So the music was always there. By the time my mother came back into my life, I'm graduating high school. And it took some years for me to fully allow myself to reconnect with her, because you spend so long missing somebody and longing for them. It's just too much to bear. So it's easier to dissociate. So that's before my mom came back into my life, was when I started to numb with the drugs and alcohol. And she was always this angel spirit that I could feel. So when she came back, it took some years and we got close again. And unfortunately by then I had been poisoned, so to speak, where I was heavily addicted to drugs. And it wasn't until she was basically on her deathbed on her way out that I finally started to get myself right. I started to finally get better. I got released from, basically being incarcerated.
Yeah.
And I was abusing alcohol and I had a back injury. And I spoke to my mom, on her deathbed. And she basically told me, I'm crying, all the things, I'm a broken, at this point, I'm still thinking like a victim. Let's just pour booze on it and feel
Yeah.
sorry for myself. And so I'm crying to her on the phone, moments before she passes. And I'm like, mom, I said something like, I can't do this without you. And she said to me, essentially, that she was going to be in her most powerful form and that I would feel her in everything that I do.
That's
And if I
beautiful.
can just have the courage to face it, she would be there with me, right? And it was very prophetic, and I didn't understand it until a year later when I got my back surgery and I got sober. I felt her, and I still feel her now. So
Yeah.
that song, Sandra, with my mother's name that you're referring to,
Sam.
it was I had just gotten on the point where I wanted to stop drinking alcohol. So first I went a week without it, and I sat down on a piano and I played a melody riff from another song that's on Spotify called "Making Out to Creed," right?
Yeah.
And the
That,
melody is
that's beautiful.
dun 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 dun, right? Well, I never said the words "I'll always be with you," but before my mom passed away, she was really sick. So I would call her and I'd sing to her over the phone. And I asked her one time, I said, "What song do you want me to sing you today?" Right? And she said, "I want you to sing me the one about the ocean," right? Well, I didn't have any songs about the ocean, but I wrote "Making Out to Creed" when I was sitting at Lake
Yeah.
Tahoe that sways back and forth like an ocean. And I had told her that, but she was loopy from the meds. And so she said the one about the ocean. And I said, "Which one are you talking about?" And she sang that melody and she said, "I'll always be with you." And so it stuck in my head, right? And so here I am, she's passed. I basically, self-destructed for a good 6 to 8 months until the dam finally broke and I'm sober for the first time. And I met my childhood friend up in the town where I grew up in Oregon. And I'm at her parents' piano that I played at when I was a child. And I sat down and I played that melody and I just started singing that "I'll always be with you." And that's where the song Sandra kind of transpired. Um, and it was just kind of this like medicine just for me. And then
Yeah.
as I started to record those songs, later on that year, I had about a year sober under my belt. I became a drug counselor and a trauma counselor through a
Congratulations.
non-denominational biker church.
This is an amazing
What's that?
milestone. Congratulations. This is a beautiful milestone.
Yeah, it was crazy because I
Important.
didn't even mean to. I didn't even mean to. It just found me. It
Yes.
was a church where it's non-denominational. They don't judge you, and it was all people who used to be gangsters and
Yeah.
motorcycle gangsters
Yeah.
and drug dealers and pimps and all this stuff. And basically, they had faced their trauma and they had healed and found their superpower. So
Yeah.
I go into this place at the time. All my teeth were broken at the gums from a previous motorcycle wreck.
Yeah.
So these are fake teeth. Everybody's always like, "You have such nice teeth. How did you do heroin for so long and how do you have nice teeth?" These are fake. So I
You're
go into this biker church and I become a drug counselor and all this beautiful stuff is happening in my life. And I find that if I just sit down and talk to her, so many times we don't want to think about them because it's sad. But if I'd allow myself the tears of talking to her, I could feel her as though she's right here.
that's
And so then I'm in the studio recording these other songs and something happened with the files where we couldn't work on the song we wanted to. So I just grabbed the piano and I just laid that whole song down in one day, all the background vocals. And then I was at the beach and I recorded some ocean sounds and we put the ocean sounds in there because she said, "I want you to do the one about the ocean." And yeah, it's just, she's been with me. She's my superpower. And I
yeah.
find her everywhere I'm willing to look, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
that's where that song really came from. And I put it out, and I got a lot of reactions that people,
Yeah.
that they shed
I saw the
countless tears for
numbers.
loved ones.
I saw the numbers as well
Yeah.
on your Spotify. It's really amazing because I mean, I even remember that you released one of the. It was your first video clip because it was like about the song "Pick Me Up." I love that.
Oh yeah.
It's a beautiful video clip. It's a beautiful music video. Of course, I don't want because of course there are songs that there is a like a because I wasn't able to find like a main album or main some collection where people can actually find all your music listed.
Yeah.
Okay.
So no, actually, there's not. So back when I started, when my music career really started to take off, was I was in my 20s.
Okay.
and I was secretly addicted to drugs. And I suffered some really heavy tragedies that ultimately spurred me into oblivion. And then I spent the next like 5 to 6 years strung out and became homeless and all these things.
Yeah.
Was living in a stolen van. Then I get incarcerated. I come out and I decide, I want to go a different way. So I moved to Nashville, Tennessee. And I knew I was a good songwriter, but basically I was in a high speed chase on a motorcycle and I broke all my teeth out. My
Yeah.
nose had to be sewn back on, and my eye sockets were broken. So I had it in my head, and you deal with the unworthiness and the shame when you come out of addiction. You don't know how to feel. I had it in my head that I could only write music for other people. I didn't want to be in the spotlight.
Okay.
So I spent the next few years mostly writing and producing for other people, which is something I still do. But I
Okay.
really only started getting my own music out there again in the way that music's put out
Okay.
now about 3 years ago.
So that.
So I have a massive catalog right now. I have an acoustic album. I have an album of
Wow.
collaborations that's modern
Yeah.
vintage, and then I have my full length album called Western Gutter Gospel. That's like folk music with alternative, and I
There is
talk
a
about just my life.
there is a date of release for this
Yeah.
album where people can find it. Where yeah they can find this album.
So that album is about halfway done. I'm hoping to release a single in the next 2 months, and I'll keep you updated on that.
Of
And
course.
and just basically, if anybody wants to follow me on Instagram is where I do
Yeah.
most of my stuff. I have a TikTok. I don't put much up, but yeah, I basically was just working on other people's music for a while,
Yeah.
and then everybody told me, you need to put your music out. Your music's so good, and all this stuff. So I'm finally the dam broke, so to speak, and I decided I'm going to do it. So that's where I'm at right now. The music that's on Spotify is 3 years old, but the music I'm about to put out, some of it
Yeah.
I shared with you today, is more accurate to where I'm currently at and the medicine
Okay.
that I want to put out and the sound that I have. And it's just kind of like me coming home to myself. And I think when I was younger, I'll share some of that with you when we get done with this later, but I'll send you some music when I was younger. There's still
Yeah.
some remnants like on YouTube and stuff. My band was called This Old Pistol. And you can just hear the difference in my voice. Most people hear it now and they don't believe that's
That's
me
another resume.
because my emotional body that I was expressing aspects of the universe through was anger and aggression, and it wasn't honest. Everything was hidden in symbolism. Now I just come right out and say it. It's honesty,
Yeah.
if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. It's a.
So soon, the answer to that I took the long road to get there, but the answer to that is very, very soon. I will have
Okay.
new music out for you guys, and I'm a self-funded artist. I don't have a big record label by choice. I work with some pretty big bands. I do like background vocals and stuff for some pretty big bands. I just did background vocals for Five Finger Death Punch. They're going to be putting
Yeah.
out a new album later this year. And so I did all the background harmonies for that, and I'll write songs for other artists. But now I feel like it's my time. So I promise you, within the year there will be at least an EP, hopefully the full length album if I'm able to pull it off.
So that could be literally as well. I want to say really because if with your music I felt like even just watching your performances on Instagram, really that's how I got to know you. Feeling the music and feeling like really like that music. I was knowing the music. When you know something already from years. That sensation. And I think that the album could be or the EP could be the same. It would be the same. And it's a kind of a way aspect as well to heal, because we have different way and form of healing. We have different way and form to spread our own journey and inspiration. So about inspiration, because of course we spoke about your the trauma that went through it, but about in like literally in a major background, what is something that could be like literally inspiring you? Could be everything. It doesn't have to be from music. It could be, I don't know, God, could be nature, could be anything.
In a what kind of a background?
In like for writing music, composing music, what is that inspires you? Of course, not bands,
okay.
something.
Yeah, so my process has actually changed. It continues to change and evolve, and it actually changed again this year.
Okay.
I get very inspired when I go into nature. The city, I have to work in the city and I have to work
Yeah,
indoors during the winter. And then, so summertime, I love to work outside. You'll see me post videos of the big
yeah,
concerts that I work. So basically, half of the year, I go to Las Vegas and I write music and I produce for other people and I write my
okay.
own music. And then half the year, I come up to California and I work backstage production for like big bands that tour arenas and amphitheaters. So I basically unload their trucks, set up all their gear, set up all their band gear. I do their set changes for them. I meet the artists, and it's great networking. And I've been doing it since I was a kid. So I get very inspired in the summertime by that atmosphere,
Yeah,
obviously, because obviously I want to get back to the point to where I'm performing on bigger stages like
yeah,
that. And I know really I needed to focus on myself. A lot of it was like
yeah,
worthiness, and I feel like I've come far enough. I just celebrated 1 year, so I'm 7 years clean. So that means I've been clean 1 year longer than I was on hard drugs for.
congratulations.
Yeah, if I said that right.
Yeah, congratulations.
So yeah, so I used intravenously with the needle and stuff. I used for about 6 years, and I just made 7 years clean. So I made one year after, and I feel like my brain is healed, my body's healed. I'm in a good place. So I think I don't have temptation to use. I don't even drink alcohol or smoke cigarettes anymore, and there's no temptation. I'm
Yeah,
not like having to fight it. So it's
yeah,
a good time for me to really focus. So I'm going to finish out these concerts, and then I'm going to spend all winter and spring working on my own music. You'll be seeing new video content and hopefully a lot of new songs coming out too.
yeah, and of course,
I'm very inspired by nature though too. Like
yeah,
when I go get alone time, I'll talk to my mom and my other passed on loved ones. And a lot of times I will grab a guitar or sit at a piano. And I don't say to myself, unless someone hires me to write a song, I usually don't say to myself, I want to write a song about this. I
yeah,
just sit down and I act like I'm my own best friend and I look at myself and say, hey,
of
you
course.
know, how are we feeling right now? What do we need to get out? Let's lean into it. So whatever I'm feeling in that moment, I
You're
will just lean into it and allow it to express itself through whatever instrument I'm on, and then I'll record it, and
yeah,
then I listen back, and usually 90% of the song's
of course.
eventuality form comes from that initial first freestyle. So that's how I write my music. I just allow the universe to express itself through me.
It's beautiful. And of course, like you as well mentioned, like that you work as of me, you work since a long, even if like you're there working in like in a backstage,
Yeah,
being in the backstage and being, of course, working in your own music, you can picture yourself already like as well. You performed as I saw a video of you performing, so you performed, which you could see as many like differences between working backstage and working on the stage.
yeah. It's my buddies at work. They joke that I'm like. Are you familiar with Superman and Clark Kent?
Of course,
You know
yeah.
how Superman has his other alter
Krypton.
ego, and Clark Kent he's got the glasses
Yeah.
on, and when he's Superman he's got the cape on. My buddies at work all say I'm like that because there's been times where an artist showed up late and we had to sound check, so they'll hand me a guitar and I'll get on there and I'll sing some songs, and
Okay.
everybody in the arena is just like, "Oh my god," because they didn't know what I could do because I wear two different hats. Like
Yeah.
when I'm at work, I'm here to work for the artist. I'm here to give that artist
Yeah.
everything that I would want when I was on tour.
Yeah.
And then when it's my opportunity to perform, I step into that different thing. I put on
Wow.
my indigenous medicine and
Yeah.
I put on that other hat. So I have two versions of myself.
Yeah, that's beautiful as well. Of course, like you mentioned as well, your the indigenous medicine. I mean, as a Poison Rock, we are really connected. At least me, because it's me connected with
Yeah,
the indigenous all around the world. It doesn't matter if it's a Native American,
yeah,
Australian, Sami. It's all people that there are, like we say, ancestral trauma bond. Ancestral trauma is
yes,
being literally
absolutely.
devastated by the colonialism. We know all of that. At least me and you and other people, because the Western society, even if you come to Sicily here and take a book of history, it's still the same shit. It's the same thing that you read over and over again. Of course, I want to ask as well, like being from, like you were saying, a little bit Sicilian, Irish, and indigenous as well. Did you ever?
Yeah.
I think you didn't find any issue about working, putting out music, especially in the music scene, your own messages.
You know, I don't know that I ever felt that.
Okay.
You know, I am an indigenous descendant, but I did not grow up on a reservation.
Okay.
I didn't, you know, my family's mixed, so I didn't grow up traditional. So I didn't deal with a lot of the setbacks that a lot of indigenous, you know, cousins that I have dealt with growing up on reservations and stuff. What I have seen overall is just a theme of just lack of understanding or knowledge just because of the current narrative that they're taught in this country about pre-colonial cultures and
Yeah.
the strong medicine that we all have. So for me, it's more been about a fight to go seek that information out and to reconnect, you know, since my mother
Exactly.
passed away, to learn things about, you know, my personal ancestors and other indigenous relatives, you know.
Yeah.
I have a brother that he's indigenous Maori from New Zealand,
Yeah.
and you know I've only met him over the internet, but we tell each other I love you. You know, for me it's Chihuloli, and when we speak, I love him. He's my brother, and he's beautiful. He goes around and he's got the mocha, and he's got beautiful eyes and just such a powerful spirit. And he goes all over the world to other Polynesian countries and cousins and stuff and teaches them his people's way. And so I'm really inspired by that aspect of what you said. You know, all indigenous, all pre-colonization, pre-colonial cultures, keeping that alive. Because a lot of people, like when I talk about indigenous medicine, which is something I like to use natural
Yeah.
plant-based substances as an alternative to hard drugs. There's a lot of people that cannot get off of hard drugs, and so they're
Yeah.
stuck in this medical system cycle.
Yes.
So I like to use that, and it's I got kind of some backlash after I did this podcast for a company I started called Raised by Wolves. I started it with some other people. That was initially it started off as a recovery base, just to bring awareness and show people that hey, you can still be a rock star and be sober.
Yeah.
You know that, and if you look at most rock stars that were successful, even Ozzy Osbourne got sober one day. You
Yeah.
know
Of
what I mean?
course.
And
Of
he's
course.
like
Yeah.
the king of metal.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so, but when I spoke about it was referred to as alternative medicine, when in fact, it's the original medicine, right?
Yeah.
Our people
Exactly.
knew how to heal themselves, and we're also disconnected from that now,
Yeah,
you know?
and that the thing that I'm seeing is that many people that went, I don't want to say throughout, let's say depression, anxiety, medication, or addiction, anything. Like I told you about myself, I just went throughout to just being an accountant to be a naturopath, so an alternative healer. That's my job. I go
Wow.
and just take care of plant, and I don't want to know nothing about, of course medication is important if you need them, but with
Yeah,
purpose. But
with
instead
purpose.
of taking benzos, I just choose just lavender, mauve, herbal tea. That's perfect. And something that is important, and I said all the time to people, is breath working. It's
Yes.
breath working in the nature. Learn to breathe, because we don't know how to breathe sometimes. We run so
Oh, I
fast
know.
in the world that we don't stop and breathe. This is one of the best medicine. And so I know what you mean.
Absolutely.
I know what you mean. And even for people, and even just playing as, for example, shamanic drum, for people that find out these, when someone is the music scene, like, Matt, whoa, what are you doing? That's a part of who we are as a human being. And I'm seeing a lot of people that have struggled in the past. Now they are in this
Absolutely.
natural healing world, which is beautiful. And many people should discover that. And this is as well, I think, a part of inspiration for your music. I think. Beside that,
I love that. I didn't
yeah,
know that you did that. So
yeah,
that's what you do.
yeah, this is my main job. Yeah. Being a naturopath. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you know, that returning to breath work, returning to
Yeah.
nature, returning to drinking water, and just simple
Yeah.
little acts of loving ourselves, like giving ourselves sleep and nutrients and nature, is really
Exactly.
just returning to ourselves. You know,
Yes.
that we
Exactly.
lost in the societal program. We're
Exactly.
so disconnected from all the things that bring us natural joy. So we all look for what they sell us, and that shit is poison. We don't need it.
We don't know that people don't know that just throw a walk in the nature, literally throughout a walk and sitting over near a stream, or even just putting your, one thing that I like to do, like as a ritual, let's say, it's putting my hand into a frozy, literally freezing streams. And you can feel the water,
Yes.
you know, going through your, you can feel recharged. It's all the negative go out, go away. There's nothing that stays toxic in you. Just goes away. It is a simple things like that that people sometimes
Yes.
forget. We don't need new thing. We need to find out to walk with your feet on the soil. That's what we need to do. That's
Yes. That's the key right there. You know, I should have mentioned that actually earlier when you were asking me like what inspired me. One of the things that heals me the most, and I is basically jumping into cold water.
that's
You
beautiful.
know, I obviously I used to, you know, I used to shoot up drugs, and so
Yeah,
the allure to that is you get a
yeah,
rush, right?
yeah,
And in that sense you reach oblivion, but that disconnected me from my spirit, right?
yeah,
So when I feel like I need to be in my body and I need to be present, because
yeah,
we're always future traveling, you know,
yeah,
we're always thinking about what we got to do tomorrow, or
exactly.
we get stuck on the past and we get stuck on the wrong aspects of it. But there's something to be said, like you said, like when I'm up at Lake Tahoe, the water's cold, and I like to just get my whole body in it. And sometimes you'll start
Yeah,
laughing for no reason. It's a
yeah,
release. It's an emotional release, and it
exactly.
just connects me to right here, right now. You know,
Yeah,
in my
that
body, you're fully
mindfulness
activated.
right here, right now. This is the main principle of the mindfulness, and that's important because, especially because here people don't are not aware too much about what is meditation and mindfulness. So, what they do is that from the Oriental, let's say the Oriental medicine, they took the meditation and transformed it in mindfulness, which is more westernized, but at least it's helpful because it's all about here and the now. Be focusing, touching. What is that? I am my eyes closed, but I'm touching.
Yes,
I can feel. I can see.
yes,
That's
yeah. What do I feel? What do I see? You know, there's
exactly,
leaves above me. What do I smell? And
exactly.
you know, when you say that to somebody who didn't, there's a lot of people who maybe had a perfect upbringing, maybe
Yeah,
they had a happy childhood, maybe they had parents that helped them understand this life and everything. But
yeah.
to those of us who don't, something as simple as just paying attention to how the wind feels on your skin, or
Yes,
how the dirt feels under your feet, or how the water feels when
exactly.
you're sipping on it, something simple like that is such good medicine, because we spend so much of our life disconnected from all that, just, you know, focused
Here.
on media.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
all
in
that
our
we spend all
thoughts.
this time,
Yeah.
yeah,
Just
and in
literally,
here, yeah,
this
in
is the
here
biggest fail.
I used to struggle with suicidal thoughts, you know, for most of my life. Like, oh, I should take my life. And the enemy within used to whisper, and it ultimately became a
Yeah.
scream that I just wanted to numb with anything I could get. But the reality of it is, I love my body. I recently just had a conversation with myself when I was meditating a few weeks ago, and I just looked in the mirror and I thanked my body, and I'm grateful for it. I don't know why I tried to destroy myself for so long. These hands can do amazing things, and this voice can do amazing things, and I feel so grateful to have it now. And I just, you know, you always in hindsight, I wish I would have learned to have that love and respect for myself early on. But
Yeah.
growing up without my
I,
mother, I didn't have anybody to instill self love in me, you know. But I do now,
yeah.
and yeah. So I try to encourage anybody else who's maybe watching this, take
To
the time
the
and
same.
just look at one thing that you're grateful for. Start there. Just start with one thing that you're
In the
grateful for
morning.
today.
Yeah.
And maybe your body doesn't look the way you want it to today, or it doesn't feel the way you want it to today, but there's something in your life that you're grateful for. There's one good thing. Everybody's good at least one thing, and there's something
Yeah.
special that you can do that nobody else can do, you know?
Yeah.
And finding that gratitude and just being like,
Exactly.
okay, I'm okay in my skin. So I just really, I find that something as simple as just deciding to be aware in your current body where you are right now is
Yeah.
really healing in itself. In a world where we're all in the meta and the social media and up here,
Exactly.
you know, nature's there to remind you that you have an amazing body, and it's a gift to be alive, you know?
Yeah.
Something as simple as breathing we take for granted, like you said.
Yeah, it's and it's important because even water, people don't get it, but as a taste, and it's good to drink. It's literally because I was an alcoholic. I don't want to call it addiction, but maybe yes, because when you go every day, with more than 5 beers per day, every day of your life.
Yeah.
I could call it maybe addiction, something like that. I went through that journey really young until, and I had, like the wake up call in the harsh way, having a car accident, not because I was drunk, because I had a panic attack. Everything froze, my hand, my legs. And of course, I was 23, so I was literally young. So I was just straightforward brought to the ER. And I didn't know what anxiety was, because as like any type of alcoholic is just literally like a benzo. That's what they do. They calm your thoughts, calm your anxiety. So when you stop drinking, even for 1 or 2 days, you disappear. Okay, you're back. 1 or 2 days. You basically are brought. Yeah. You're brought in this kind of new way, new life. And it's like, what is a panic attack? What is anxiety? And of course, since you're starting a journey, and I was telling you, under benzo, I have to stop with alcohol from out of nowhere. And I was 23, but then I didn't want a benzo. So it was like, well, I should even, and at the beginning, being among people that were drinking, having fun, all of that, it was tough. And I couldn't enjoy even, but with the time, because now it's more like 2023, I'm 36, it's 13 years, it's a lot of years that I'm sober, really. You've been seeing, even with the same people that you were hanging out, that maybe that was the right environment for you, that even a glass of water or a juice, I don't know, lemon juice, orange juice, here in Sicily, we're the land of oranges. Orange juice, it's good. And it's even better, because when people have aperitif and something, you can enjoy. And water is literally one of the most important things in the world, because it just helps us to live, first of all. It's like air.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's so simple. I don't know how it was growing up where did you grow up in Sicily?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Sicily. I moved throughout Europe a little bit, and I saw the difference between the toxicity from other country and the healthier way of living in Sicily, because it's a slower life. It's more like, of course, if you go to the countryside, if you are in the city, they're always, but if you're in the countryside, life is really slow. People still eat and drink milk from the source, like from the end. It's literally farm life, and that's the best way of living life.
So that's a lot healthier. So I did not grow up in that way. I grew up, fed TV dinners, these frozen, nasty dinners you put in the microwave, and so any nutrients that existed prior to freezing them have now been microwaved out. I was fed things like soda and these gross frozen juice concentrates. So I was totally disconnected from nutrition too, So like for me, drinking water has been an obsession, I would say. I joke and I carry this everywhere, and I joke and I say that it's my emotional support jug.
You're not the only one.
It's my oh, yours is copper too. You got the real deal. But it's my emotional support drug, because like water is everything. And I think that was a big part of my, I diagnosed, bipolar disorder and stuff, and bipolar depression, manic depression, ADHD, all these things. I think a lot of it was my environment, and I think a lot of it was my diet, and my emotional and psychological diet too. The music I listened to, I was very obsessed with horror films and used to go to sleep watching horror films, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you got to realize that all of the, even if it's fake, that's all programming your subconscious.
Exactly. Exactly.
And so then we wonder why all the voices in our head are screaming and angry and upset, but that's all I gave myself. That's all I fed myself. And then your body's screaming for nutrients and water, and you're giving it soda and Red Bull. So, I feel a lot better just based on the fact that I know how to eat right and drink water now as you do.
It's like you're doing yourself your own therapy. You know how to do therapy for yourself.
Yeah.
And that's
I never did. I didn't go to rehab.
Yeah,
I try to encourage other people if they have an opportunity to go to
of
rehab
course. If
because getting clean there, getting clean there is going to be a lot more comfortable
yeah,
than it was for me. I detoxed in a jail cell, all
it's
concrete, and I was in
oh,
solitary confinement. So I was by myself. I got in trouble within there, and so like for me, it was the hardest way to come down off of everything. I personally needed it that way, but yeah, I never went to rehab, so I've kind of learned to become my own therapist. And my
yeah,
connection to Creator
it's
is a
important.
big method to finding myself. And of course, my mom's spirit is always around every corner with breadcrumbs,
Yeah,
leading me to another level of self awareness.
because that's what sometimes what we lack is that the understanding and the connection that sometimes even with the yeah, it's important if you had to need help to go therapist rehab. There are important tools because sometimes we should need help. But of course, if I stay home and watch things that could put me like or listen things that could put me in a mindset of anxiety or of anger, and I don't channel them and I go to sleep, it's normal. They are stagnant inside of me. So that's why maybe
Yes,
after a month, I'm just like, I don't want to live like this. I want more and I want even more and I don't get it. My life sucks. And then plus social media, it's always a comparison to someone else's life. That
yes,
that's what you were saying about before about being grateful because just having even a roof, having even water, that's something to be grateful for.
exactly. Yeah,
Because when you don't have those things, you were gonna say, I was fucking rich. That's where the being rich is having this small this amazing thing like nature that is every day is gonna be just is still destroyed by our humans being. We're just off,
yeah,
we're just guests in the nature. It's just all entire world. It's put it that by the creator, but and we are like kind of destroying it. So
yeah. That was actually really well put too, because I think a lot of it too is how we measure our own personal success.
yeah,
And like you said, especially with social media, just with the tips of your fingers, you can take a walk across the world. I mean, look how we connected.
yeah, exactly.
You're in another part of the world.
Yeah,
It's nighttime where you're at. It's late morning here.
yeah,
So we have access to compare ourselves to what they have going on. But the
yeah,
reality of it is, and this is a perfect analogy, is it's nighttime where you're at. So you're going to finish your other interviews tonight and then
yeah,
you're going to go to sleep, whereas I have another whole day ahead of me. So
yeah,
our lives are not the same and we can't compare them to other people. So
yeah,
like you said, we might, if we really stop and look around and stop paying attention to other people's stuff, I might see that I'm
exactly.
sitting beneath the shade of a healthy fig tree and this tree gives fruit that I can eat, and the environment's good and I have
Yeah,
animals around me that I love, right? But
exactly.
if my definition of my success is based on my buddy who's got a mansion that lives elsewhere and he's rich and has all these fast cars, well then yeah, I'm not going to be grateful and I'm going to feel like a failure because I'm
Yeah,
measuring myself to his level of
yeah,
success.
of course.
When in fact the way I measure success in my life is, am I staying clean? Yes. Do I want to destroy myself anymore? No. Do I have love in my life? Yes. Do I have do I have joy in my life? Yes. Am I doing the things that set my heart on fire? Yes. And on top of that, am I making a difference in other people's life as basically fallout, as like a wave from what I'm
Yeah,
doing? Yes. So I'm wildly successful. Whether or not I have money is
yeah.
inconsequential.
It's not.
My
Yeah.
definition of success is just to
At
be.
the, at the end of the
You
day,
know.
we're not gonna bring with us, like man in the fucking grave. I mean, we can just put in there, oh, we end that there. So just it's such all
Yeah.
material. I'm not gonna put the phone in the grave. So I don't care. What I care is, like we were saying before, is the here and the now. Of course, there is always a little bit about the future, like tomorrow maybe what I'm going to what I should do tomorrow, but mainly in the here and the now. I'm enjoying doing interviews.
Absolutely.
Yes. I'm enjoying, I don't know, the fresh air coming from the air conditioner. Yeah, that's what is matter. What is matter now? What will matter
Yeah.
tomorrow? I will see. Because living with that gives us as well like the pressure of the society. think about the future. It's like, it's like machine. We lost that as well. That's why as low life is important, because it lets you understand and appreciate the smallest, literally the smallest moment. That's what meditation does, for example, that allow to go slower. Even being aware of your breath. We're not aware. When you have to count, during the breath working exercise, you have to count and then hold your breath and then exhale. You're like just putting attention to your breath that we don't do. We're breathing, you're breathing, we are human beings, but we don't know how much that is powerful, because like I said, there's all this amount of oxygen that goes in here too. So this thing that we have is that the most let's say the most strong and the most powerful tool we have. With our brain, our thoughts, we can literally change who we are and what we will be tomorrow. If I wake up today that I don't feel good, I have a shitty, I can just set myself and say what could make me feel better. I don't know, walk for a walk.
Yeah.
And then you should do it. You don't stay home and just watch a TV show, just watch whatever, some social media, because that's just gonna make you feel even worse. Because of course it's not
absolutely.
Yeah. And of course, coming back as well a little bit to your music, because of course, I mean, I don't like labeling music, but if we had to literally go throughout all your song, all your music, there is, of course, that for the music that it's been released, even if it's just something that you have posted on Instagram, that you would feel like that maybe the people that are watching the interview would maybe, like to suggest, you would feel to suggest to them to listen, to get to know you.
Listen to, well, so I have a few songs on Spotify, and those songs were actually written and recorded in 2019 initially, and I finished them during the pandemic. We lost all the files, so I had to start over on the recordings. And so, but those are a good window into my journey. Those are off of an EP that I am finished getting mixed, and I'm going to release it piece by piece, but it's called Almost Sober. And that was just when I was exploring the boundaries of, okay, well, why do I want to be sober, and what are the reasons why, and what can it hurt? I've tried every other way. Why don't I try this? And part of it was, when you have that rock star mentality or whatever, you think that you need drugs and alcohol to write good music. Well, for me, it was the opposite. I actually just the occasional plant medicines and lots of water and everything. I'm the most clear channel to my stuff. So, there's that. I'm going to be releasing stuff and everything that's on Spotify is on iTunes and Apple Music and all that. But like on my YouTube channel is some acoustic performances. On my Instagram, if you really want to get to know me, check out my Instagram, I would say, because that's where I post like my more intimate thoughts, and that's where I share my truth. I had issues with my phone. Like I said, I just focused on so many other aspects of my life. I'm not the greatest at social media. I have a lot of buddies that tell me I need to be better at it, so I just got a new phone. So I'm going to start posting more. It's just hard for me to post if it doesn't feel genuine,
Yeah,
so like when I feel it, I do. But yeah, but I'm seriously gonna be releasing more music soon, so there'll be more variety.
Because like I said,
they want to get to know.
You mentioned like this kind of a EP/album that you're gonna put out there like later in the year. And of course, we don't want to say too much, because maybe we're going to talk about that when it's going to be released. So we have the material to talk about each song that's going to be. But you mentioned already the title. So I want to ask about the meaning of that.
Yeah, so obviously I'm in the West. And so the first word in the title is Western, right? And that has been a recurring theme with me. Everything, the Southwest imagery, my background, growing up, there's a lot of like ancestral memories that I have, past life memories, to where I love all we call the United States, indigenous people call it Turtle Island. So I love all the different corners and landscapes of Turtle Island, but the West is where I grew up. And that Western movies, the spaghetti Westerns, which had a lot of Italian directors, came over here, and that's where that term came from. I really loved all the music in those spaghetti Westerns. And so that even if I mix or produce or I sing on a pop record or I do a lot of
Yeah.
I record for a lot of rappers, so I do a lot of hip hop music and rap too for other people. I write for them. And anything I do, my guitar tones, they always represent this Western theme.
Yeah.
So the spaghetti Western. So it's called Western Gutter Gospel. So
Yeah.
when I was involved in the biker church, I found my own frequency of God and my own frequency of the Christ consciousness that doesn't exist on the pages of any book. It's akin. The only way I could make you feel it would be to grab your hand and have you dip a toe in a pool of
Yeah.
water so you could feel the temperature. Right? There's no
Yeah.
words to
Exactly.
describe what I found with those people. And so I learned that I do have a ministry. And a ministry, the way that they put it, is a way that you can share the spirit of life, of creation, of God, whatever you want to call it, with
Yeah.
people to help them heal. And my ministry was and has always been in the gutter because that's where I came from. That's where I did my best and worst work. I was in the gutter. I was in the part of life that a lot of
Yeah.
people don't see
Yeah.
because they're cast aside or they hide because you're stuck in addiction. So the gutter is just like everyone's rock bottom, and that's where I feel like my ministry is. That's where I can reach people the strongest, and I make a lot of songs for people like you and me who are healed now that can relate. But I also try to make a lot of music that people that are as lost as I was 7 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm on a cocktail of methamphetamines and heroin and steroids, and I'm driving around in a stolen van stealing stuff to feed my addiction.
Yeah.
There's people out there that are stuck in that place that I was, and I wish I would have had somebody singing the songs that I'm singing now because
Yeah.
that this kind of music would have reached me. So the second word is gutter, and the last word is gospel, and gospel just means my truth.
Yeah.
So the album's called Western Gutter Gospel, and it's basically a culmination of a few EPs that I attempted to do and put out that I didn't for one reason or another. So I decided to just make a full length album that tells the whole story, and that's where the title came from,
And
Western Gutter Gospel.
it's beautiful, like as well, like you, after all you went through, just putting yourself out to say to the other people, hey, I've been there, I'm here, not only just to give you my music, but literally to raise a hand to you, like, here is my hand, take it, I'm here to help. Even especially if you are in that darkest spot right now, the most high, the most drunk, I'm here, because we judge all the time. We are judgmental people.
Yeah.
We judge all that. We are judging. And when we learn to not judge anyone, because anyone is like us, and could be, we were
Absolutely.
there. It's just different stages in life. Everyone in the entire world, even my grandma that was 90, 89, I will be her one day. So that's beautiful, because that shows a selfless version of you, like this way of putting yourself out, so in a vulnerable way as well, because it's not easy. So for that, congratulations, because it's like being there, I'm here. Because many people would say maybe, okay, I did my journey, I'm making music, that's it. You are completely put yourself as well in a vulnerable way, and I really have to say thank you how to put yourself as well in this talk/interview in a vulnerable way, because it's not easy for some people to talk about all this shit, let's say, that happen in the life. But even those are important, because those experience made the Ian of today.
Yeah, they made this version of me.
Yeah.
So many people that follow my journey now, they read my words and they're moved by them, but they don't see how I look. They don't see a version of myself. So I weigh about 220 pounds right now, right? And I'm healthy.
Yeah.
I was 148 pounds. 148 pounds. So I was over 100 pounds thinner than I am now. You can see my cheekbones, my forehead bones, my eyes were sunken in, my teeth were broken at the gums. You can't see on this camera, but I have deep scars from injecting myself and all the things that I did to destroy myself. And I know that version of myself subconsciously is in another dimension of my thought, because we each have a universe in our brains, and he's still walking around hurt. So a lot of times I write this music to that version of myself, because I know there's a million other people out there that are good people, and they're capable of the same magic that you and I are, and they can reach people just like we can, but they're just stuck. They're just still stuck in that place of not knowing, not believing in themselves.
Exactly.
So I find that me being super vulnerable it's a superpower. It is empowering because I want to show other people you don't have to be ashamed. Like,
No,
it doesn't matter what you've done in this life. Learn from it, turn it around, find another way,
exactly,
forgive yourself, and you'll find it.
exactly.
It doesn't have to be a shameful thing.
No,
Yeah,
like
I
I
talk
say,
about it openly.
forgive yourself. That's why, for example, I pick up this naturopathy healing stuff, because when I got my panic attack, my mom, which unfortunately she's under antidepressant for all her life, and she's like, that's my truth. And for that's who she is. I can't change her now. I don't want to change people. So she brought me to a psychiatrist instead of saying, let's go to a naturopath, let's go to a therapist. So she brought me straight forward to take medication. That's something that's why I choose this job. Because if there is a teenager or someone else of my own age, that I was in my 20s, and she got the first anxiety and panic attack before going throughout that shit with the hard benzo, make a step back. Let's have a talk. Go to something, because you can learn cognitive behavioral therapy, just meditation. Let's find the best way for you. And maybe even after all of that, and after all therapies, you're not feeling good, then maybe we can see. But before going throughout that, there is a whole world. So I can understand what you feel like before going, because I've been there. I know what does it feel when you don't have benzodiazepine with you for more than 12 hours in your body, and your body is craving those things, and you need to have your bottle in your own bags all the time, because we have the bottle, which is even worse. You have to count the drops. So sometimes I have to carry that with me, because the mind, the thought is still there. I have it, doesn't have it, I don't have it, and I go. And this is a symptom of having the withdrawal, because it's physical, of course, because sometimes people say it's just mental. No way, that's physical as fuck as well. But that's mental too. You have to, before to set the mental and allow the of course, with not immediately, but you have to allow as well the physical to slow down. Take some herbal tea, do something to help yourself to go out of that shit. That's why I've been here doing this job and take this path. I didn't do that when I was 20. I was studying history. I did that when I was in my 30 plus year, because I said that I had enough of this world made of Western medicine telling you that it's better get intoxicated than drinking a cold glass of water. Sometimes when you're angry or you're crying, I don't know if it happens to you, people could say, do you want a glass of water? That's a way, because it's true. Drinking a glass of water, even when you are like overwhelmed, can make you cool down. There's a temperature. Cool down. So that's always bring to the water. It's one of the elements. That's the beautiful one.
I know. My friends always joke around, and my loved ones too, because my answer to everything is to drink water.
Yeah.
They joke about it. I actually saw like a meme on Instagram about it too, where this girl says that she's got a headache, and her man instantly says, well, we'll drink some water. Like my drummer in Vegas, he jokes about it all the time, because I'm always like, he's like, my hands hurt, this hurts, I'm having anxiety, drink water. Yeah. Because it works for me. I don't just say it for no reason. No, like
it's because people.
Yeah, that's beautiful that you broke out of that cage though. Yeah, it takes a lot of courage, and it takes even more courage to acknowledge it publicly and talk about it. But like you said, there's other little girls and little boys and grown folks and people out there stuck in that same cycle you were. And so you just talking about it and being honest about it, you might be a guiding light for them where they didn't know. They look up to you. Oh, she's so cool. She's pretty. She's got these tattoos. She's doing all this cool stuff. If she can do it, I can do it.
Yeah, because there's nothing.
Or if I could do it, they could do it.
Yeah, and there's nothing more beautiful than being there and see that person that came to you, even just to listen to your story and say to you, so I can get out of that. Yes. So I can learn how to breathe. I had to teach to a girl. I taught to a girl how to breathe, and she was literally like crying and shaking because she wouldn't be able to breathe with her own belly, like the diaphragmatic breath. And her
body wouldn't allow it.
Yeah, and I told her, like, just, I'm here, I'm holding your hand. We're going nowhere. We're just here. Take your time. We have all the time. Just get, going with these people. going together with their journey. Of course, all of us a different way to help them. Mine could be just being there, available 24/7, and sometimes I even think about going to help the women that are subject to violence, because that's one of my journey too. That's one of my journey too.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yes. So I know what does it feel, and I'm still fighting that. And I thank to God that I never fall again in some alcohol or whatever things. I just reach out immediately to the closest and the center anti-violence. So all these things, and I wanted to speak out because it's important, no matter if you're a man, a woman, a kid, and you are subject of that. Before the trauma gets stuck in your heart and inside of you, and you start to have the avoidance to detachment, so you don't go, you put your trauma in your small part of your brain, just immediately go to talk to someone. It's painful, yes, but go, don't hold it. You need to reach out to help, go. That's important, because especially here in Sicily, it might look safe, but in the city, and it's even disgusting for me to say that there was a girl a couple of, I think not even 1 year ago, she was 19, she got raped by 7 guys. That's something that you couldn't even imagine, like in a small island. And these things happen daily. Girls have to walk with things in the street to just be safe. Men too. I mean, it's a crazy world. So just
that's how it is where I grew up. Very violent. You know, it was dangerous for me as a little boy, so I can only imagine how dangerous it was for young women and stuff walking around too. So yeah, I mean that's just a testament to even more of the medicine that you possess right now, transcending all of that violence that you had to deal with too. You know, we'll have to talk about that another time too. You know, like I'd like to go into that more. Either in private or on here. I'd love to hear you, you know, because all that amounts to what you're doing now today. It's strong medicine.
Yeah, it's but as well, like the same is mutual, because it's really important just to share that, because even sharing with someone else your experience, good or bad, it's always an exchange of energies and a kind of medicine as well. And the only thing that I could do is help give you something. You know, when you have a child with a friend and then you go home and then you just are almost empty because all those people are just looking to the superficial, let's say, superficial side of life. That's something that doesn't happen, for example, in this conversation. At the end, we will have learned something more, like looking with more gratitude. That's something that people should always do. That's all I say. When you have meet good people, I asked my friend, did you learn something? Not like learning something like culture, but did you learn something inside of you? You know, we were talking about learning, I don't know, about which is the fastest car, the best drink. This is not learning, or the best diamond whatsoever. This is not learning. It's learning if you go home with a smile and you go to sleep with a smile. That's the best things. But of course,
that kind of stuff just drains your energy.
Yeah, exactly.
It just drains your energy to listen to that surface. I have no. That's another reason why, you know, like me not drinking, I have to perform in bars a lot, and I'm around a lot of people that drink alcohol. But I would say that the main reason why I only stay for so long, and then when they start to get really fucked up, I leave, is mostly because they keep everything on the surface, and I just have no desire to. My solitude is it's worth more than gold to me. My quiet time, my alone time, because I get to spend time with my mother spirit. I get to listen to the universe, and I love it. So that's precious to me. So if I'm gonna step away from that and talk to people, I have no interest in surface encounters. I'm not into one night stands. I'm not into hookup culture. Any of that. I want to go below the surface or not at all.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I agree with that.
I think that people that kind of experience things like me and you are kind of on the same level. I know exactly what you mean. I have my own time. I live alone. I go to the woods if I have to go by myself. If I want people around me, yes, but sometimes I need those moments, even at home, that I need to, focus with myself. I have my grandma's spirit, for example. This is her home. So this is her cat. I live in her home. She passed away like last October. So she was like a mom to me. So everything that I do for her. Like I woke up in the morning, I have her picture all around. Sometimes, you know what the people do, just renovate their home. I don't. This is her house. I like to watch her photos when she was young, she was getting married. I like to look at her every day. And that's what had me going through the grief, for example. That's another thing. And yeah, so I always have her close to me. Sometimes I even talk with her because, of course, many times I would say, like, I wish you could be here, Grandma. Just, I don't know, just she would be here. She was just like, oh, what are you doing? Can I say hello? She would be like that. So I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you do that, though, I personally feel my mother. I feel my mother's spirit respond to me like she is here. You know, she is here. I have her photo on my phone, so every time I open my phone, I see her face. And depending on what I'm talking about or looking at on my phone, somehow it looks like her expression changes.
Yeah. Yeah,
but I look at her every day. You know?
Yeah, I know what you. But of course, before we end, Ian, I want to just ask you like a funny question. You mentioned something about like riding. So I think you must be like a biker. You've been a biker, or still a biker, or you like being a biker, or you like in general to ride. Is that?
I used to, yeah. I don't ride so much anymore. I mean, I'll ride off road, but I was in that serious motorcycle accident. And, I broke my collarbone. So,
but I mean, like in
my eye sockets and everything.
So
after that, I don't really ride so much anymore. I do off road, but I'm not interested in riding in cities.
Let's say even just
I still love motorcycles.
Let's say even just going throughout a road trip, there could be even just be you walking. What? If you should say like a playlist, like even just mentioning 3 artists, we don't have to say like 10 hours, even 1 artist, or even natural sound. What would it be really like in few names, your own?
That have inspired me?
Yeah.
So, have you ever heard of a band called Him from Finland?
I have a tattoo of them in my back that you have on your neck. I have the same one. Villavalo, yes. I have the same tattoo in my back, yeah.
Yeah, he was a big inspiration to me. When I was younger, I heard their Greatest Love Songs album, and then Deep Shadows and Brilliant Highlights.
Amazing,
so he was a huge inspiration to me, and still is. I mean, it's in a lot of the music that I write. It has a dark feel to it, but there's a lot of love and there's a lot of deep feelings and light in it. But I walk in the shadow and I walk in the light. So Villavalo has always been a huge inspiration to me. I loved Johnny Cash growing up because he just told the truth. In everything he did. He just unapologetically. And honestly, some of my other biggest inspiration are actors. Jim Carrey is a very transformative individual who I believe has seen beyond the veil because he's gone so deep into channeling what the universe wants to express. So he's a huge inspiration, and the actor Tom Hardy as well. Those are some of my biggest inspirations in what I do.
Yeah, so that's amazing. I mean, learning about him was like, okay, but because I grew up with them as well, so I was literally grew up with them, and I know what you mean. He has Villavalo has a deep songwriting, like Johnny Cash has a truth songwriting, and those stood up for the truth, and so I can say and as well like the actor as well. So before ending, just really, I hope to do just another talk / interview or just another talk because it was really a pleasure, and I didn't expect that was so smooth. It was really fun. It was really nice. And awesome. Thank you for your work that you do for everyone, for the people, and for us.
Thank you too. I've learned some interesting things about you too, and I want to encourage you on your journey to continue in your path of shamanic, somatic healing, all the things you're doing, and I hope you take the time to sometimes celebrate your victories.
Yeah, and should do more often.
We'll touch base again. I should have some music ready to release soon. When we do, we can always do another interview then. And obviously, keep in touch.
Of course. So I wish a beautiful day in the nature, and I will keep you posted with all these interviews. And we will keep on talking. I mean, this is just a informal goodbye for today.
Okay. Goodbye for today. Have a beautiful day, my friend.
Bye-bye. Bye.
broken